Hello students and welcome to our World Religions class. Today we're going to be considering a claim that is central to the Islamic faith and the Islamic apologetic against Christianity. We're going to be considering in this lesson and the next lesson the question, has the Bible been corrupted? We're going to consider what the Quran has to say about the Bible, the Old and New Testament. And then we're going to consider the claim that the Bible has been corrupted, and we're going to consider whether or not that is true. So for today, the big idea that we're going to see is that the Quran claims to be a continuation of the Old and New Testaments. Now, before we get going here, I want you to have a go at working on a question to review some of the previous work we've been doing. And this is our Do Now task. So the Do Now task says this: what are some of the key issues with the Islamic perspective on Jesus' crucifixion? What I'm getting at here is I'm asking, what is it that the Islamic faith, the Islamic perspective teaches about Jesus' crucifixion? And what are some of the major issues with this perspective? Why do we as Christians think that this is a difficult position for them to defend? And why do we hold to the crucifixion in light of their claims? So have a go at writing a paragraph answering this question. This is the sort of question that's likely to be on your Term 1 test. So have a go at writing something compelling and clear. So pause the video now, have a go at doing that, and then come back here to begin the lesson. So let's begin today's lesson. We're going to be considering what the Quran has to say about the Bible, and consequently what the Islamic faith teaches about the Bible. Now, the core claim here today that I'm going to be making is this. The Quran teaches, the Quran claims that the Quran itself is a continuation of revelation. Revelation beginning at the Old Testament, being carried forward to the New Testament, and then being carried forward again to the Quran. The Quran claims that it's a continuation of revelation. Now, one of the things to consider here is that as Christians, we are claiming that the New Testament is a continuation of the Old Testament. We're claiming that the New Testament fills out what was promised in the Old Testament. The New Testament is a continuation of the Old Testament. One of the ways we see this happen is that Christians, in conversations with Jewish believers, so Jews believe in the Old Testament and the Old Testament only. So Jews believe in the Old Testament and the Old Testament only. Christians believe in both the Old and the New Testament. And the reason for that is that Christians believe that the New Testament is a continuation of the Old. And one of the ways that Christians argue with Jews is by trying to show that the New Testament is a continuation of the Old Testament. Part of the Christian message to Jewish believers is to say, have a look at what the New Testament says. Have a look at its arguments. The New Testament is very clearly the fulfillment of what was promised in the Old Testament. This is strong argumentation that Christians use frequently. Many times, in fact, the primary arguments that Christians use for making this case are the very same arguments that the New Testament authors themselves use to argue that the New Testament is a continuation of the Old Testament. If you read the Old Testament, it's like a story that doesn't quite have an ending. It's like an unfinished story. And the Christian claim is that the New Testament is the completion of that unfinished story. All the promises in the Old Testament find their fulfillment in the Messiah, who is Christ. This is the Christian argument. Now, what I'm suggesting to you today is that Islam, the Quran itself, claims that the Quran is a further continuation of what's come before, going from the Old to the New to the Quran. We're going to see this today as we study some key passages in the Quran. What we're going to do is we're going to try and exegete what's going on in the text of the Quran and draw out the meaning of what the Quran is saying about its relationship to prior revelation, which I'm going to suggest is the Old and New Testament. Now, The reason why this is an important argument to consider is because if the Quran is saying that it's a continuation of previous revelations, then one way we can evaluate the Quran is by comparing it with what's come before. We can see, is the message of the Quran consistent with the message of the New Testament and the message of the Old Testament? Now, this is the same argument Christians make with Jews. We're saying that the New Testament is consistent with the message of the Old. We're saying if you look at the New and you compare it with the Old, you will find massive consistency. In fact, more than that, you will find that the New Testament is the fulfillment of the Old. So one of the ways we can evaluate the Quran is by asking, does this message of the Quran, is it consistent with the Old and New Testament? Now, if that's the claim that the Quran is making, then the Muslim thinker, the Muslim scholar runs into some pretty serious issues. Because as we've seen already, the message of the Quran is at fundamental odds with both the Old and the New Testament, particularly the New Testament and what it says about the nature of God, the nature of man, the death of Jesus Christ, his resurrection, his deity. All of these things are in fundamental contradiction with the Quran. So if the Quran is claiming to be a continuation of revelation, and we examine the Quran in light of the New Testament, we can determine whether or not the Quran is trustworthy. But in order to get to that point, we must first examine what the Quran has to say about the Bible, namely the Old and New Testaments. So let's turn to the Quran now and consider a key passage that will help us evaluate some of these things. We're going to be considering Surah chapter 5, verses 42 to 48. Now, I will give you this printed out when we return to school. So once school online is over, I'll give you this as a printout. So don't feel like you need to copy things down. However, it will benefit you to make notes along the way about some of the things we're pointing out here. So let us read from the Quran and make comments as we go. So we'll start with verse 42. It says this: they listen to falsehoods and devour what is unlawful. If they come to you, either judge between them or decline to interfere. If you decline, they cannot hurt you in the least. If you judge, judge between them with equity. Surely Allah loves those who judge with equity. Now, what's going on here? This surah is given in the context of people coming to Muhammad to have judgments made about different cases. That's why it says here, if they come to you to either judge between them or decline to interfere. So the instruction given to Muhammad is, when these people are coming to you, you can either be a judge between them, or you can decline to interfere. If you decline, they can't hurt you. If you judge, make sure you do it fairly. That's essentially what's being said here, because Allah loves those who judge with equity. Now, who are these people coming to Muhammad for judgments? Well, according to this surah, Christians and Jews were coming to Muhammad for judgments. So why don't we read what's going on here, and we get an insight into the Quran's view of the Old and New Testaments. So the key points to see here is that people are coming to Muhammad for judgments. And these include Jews and Christians. So let's move on to the next verse. Why do they come to you for judgment when they have their own law, the Torah, wherein Allah delivered judgment for them, and then after that they turn away? These are not believers. So speaking of the Jews, the Quran says this: why do they come to you for judgment? The Quran is calling into question the validity of Jews coming to Muhammad for judgment. Why is it calling this into question? Well, it says they have their own law, the Torah. This is the Old Testament. They have the Torah, wherein Allah delivered judgments for them. Now, what we see here is that the Quran is saying Allah delivered judgments in the Torah. What does that mean? It means that God gave the Torah. God gave the Old Testament. This seems to be what the Quran is saying. And since they have the Torah, which comes from Allah, they have no need to go to Muhammad for judgment. However, the Quran asserts that they turn away. They turn away from what God delivered. Allah delivered in the Torah. This is saying they turn away from that, and therefore they're not believers. Now here we have Allah speaking. We revealed the Torah, wherein there was a guidance and a light, by which the prophets who surrendered to Allah judged the Jews. So what we see here in this first sentence, the Torah was revealed from God, from Allah, and is light and guidance. This is standard language for revelation. This is standard language for saying this is God's word. So, by which the prophets who surrendered to Allah judged the Jews and the men of Allah, and the rabbis judged, by such of Allah's book as they were bidden to observe and be its witnesses. So, such of Allah's book. What we see here again, the Torah is Allah's book. And sell not my signs for a miserable price. Whoever judges not by that which Allah has sent down, such are the disbelievers. Again, Allah has sent down. They believe the Torah was sent down by God. And we ordained for them therein a life for a life, and an eye for an eye, and a nose for a nose, and an ear for an ear, and a tooth for a tooth, and for wounds retaliation. Now, so here's a question. Who's ever heard the phrase a life for a life? Just think about it. Have you heard that phrase before? Question, do you know where it comes from? I don't know if you know this, but it comes from the Bible. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, a life for a life. That is a Bible reference. So this is the one place in the Quran where we see the Quran referencing the Bible. Now, I don't think that means that Muhammad had knowledge of the Bible verse, for this is not an exact quote. The part about the nose for the nose and wounds for retaliation, it's different to the Bible quote, but part of it is clearly drawn from the lex talionis. But that doesn't mean that Muhammad necessarily had knowledge of the Bible. I think it just reflects the fact that this was a well-known phrase, a well-known way of speaking about fairness and justice. So, but if anyone remits the retaliation in charity, it is an act of atonement for himself. And whoever judges not by what Allah has revealed, such are the unjust. Okay, let's keep moving here. Continuing on. So what we see here, what we've seen so far, Old Testament is Allah's word / book. In the next verse, we see this progression. We move from Old Testament, Allah's word, is carried forward and continued in the New Testament. Let's see how this argument plays itself out in the text. And in their footsteps, this is the continuation, in their footsteps, we sent Jesus, son of Mary, confirming that which was revealed before him, and we bestowed on him the gospel, wherein is guidance and a light, confirming that which was revealed before it in the Torah. So what we see here, very important. Jesus was sent. His gospel confirms what came before. Namely the Old Testament. So what we're seeing here is this is saying Jesus came, Jesus, son of Mary, and his gospel. It's light and guidance and confirms that which came before. They're saying the gospel of Jesus, his message, is a continuation of what's come before. And then it says this: let the people of the gospel judge by that which Allah had revealed therein. Who are the people of the book? Christians. The commanders, Christians, judge by the gospel. Christians judge by the gospel. Okay, that's the command given. 48. So whoever judges not by that which Allah has revealed, again, Allah has revealed. Allah has revealed what? The gospel. And to you we have sent down the book with the truth, confirming whatever books were before it, and a witness over them. So, what we see here is that following this pattern, another book of truth has been sent down that's supposedly confirming the books that were before it, and as a witness over them. Then it says, so judge between them by that which Allah has sent down, and follow not their passions away from the truth which has come to you. For each of you we have appointed a divine law and a traced out truth. Important phrase, and a traced out way, Had Allah willed, he could have made you one community, but so that he may try you by that which he has given you. He has made you as you are. So vie with one another in good works. To Allah you will be returned, and he will then inform you of that wherein you disputed. So notice this. The Quran was sent down. In the same way, the gospel and the Torah was sent down. And it supposedly confirms what came before. This is what we're seeing here. The Quran was sent down, and supposedly it should confirm what came before. And here we see the argument brought to completion. And therefore, the argument is, judge between them by that which Allah has sent down. So the argument that the Quran is making is that the Quran confirms, the Quran confirms, what's wrong? Hang on, let me just sort this out. Sorry, I was saying the Quran confirms what came before. So the argument that the Quran itself is making is judge by the Old Testament, use that, judge by the New Testament, use that, because Allah has sent both of these down from heaven. So judge by these, and you will determine that the Quran is a continuation of the same revelation. The Quran is saying that as you judge by what Allah has sent down to you, Christians judge by the gospel, Jews, you judge by the Old Testament, and you will see that the Quran is a continuation of these books. So I've summarized the ideas here. See the argument. Moses and the Torah leading to Jesus, and the Injil, that's the word for gospel, leading to Muhammad and the Quran. The chain is complete. Muhammad's authority is placed squarely upon this foundation. If the chain is broken by the considerations we have above, the claims of Muhammad fall. So, for example, what I mean is this. If the New Testament and the Old Testament fundamentally contradict the Quran, then that means the foundation for the Quran itself has been removed. The Quran can only stand if it is a continuation of the New Testament and a continuation of the Old Testament. We'll make a few more comments here momentarily, but let us read another verse that shows us the same idea. If only the people of the book would believe and fear Allah, surely we would bring them into gardens of bliss. If they had observed, practiced the Torah and the gospel, and that which was sent down to them from their Lord, they would surely have been nourished from above them, and from beneath their feet. Among them there are people who are moderate, but many of them are of evil conduct. The idea here is that if the people of the book, if Christians had listened to the Torah and the gospel, they would be Muslims. That's the idea. If Christians had listened to the Torah and the gospel, they would be Muslims. Now, all of this considered, this here, what we've just read before, all of this considered creates a massive issue for our Muslim friends. Let's explore that a bit here. The massive issue facing the Muslim is the fact that the Quran makes the argument that the Quran itself is a continuation of revelation that travels from Torah to gospel to Quran. The problem is that the Old and New Testaments fundamentally contradict the message of the Quran. Therefore, the Quran cannot possibly be the word of God. This is the conclusion that I draw from this. Because the Quran makes its foundation the Old and New Testaments, therefore the Quran cannot possibly be the word of God. To escape this issue, the Muslim is forced to assert that the Bible has been fundamentally corrupted to the point where we can't possibly know what it originally said. Now, here's the issue for the Muslim. The Muslim has said the Quran stands on the foundation of the Old Testament and the New Testament. Now, if the New Testament and the Old Testament fundamentally contradict the Quran and say, no, we cannot be the foundation for the Quran, then the Quran itself falls. It cannot stand. So the question is, and this is a question we should know the answer to pretty clearly by this point, do the Old and New Testaments fundamentally contradict the message of the Quran? I say yes, and perhaps you can think of some of the ways that the New Testament and the Old Testament fundamentally contradict the message of the Quran. Here are a few. Jesus' death. This is so central. The New Testament is entirely based on the idea that Jesus would die for the sins of his people. The whole Old Testament is pointing forward to this event. The Quran fundamentally rejects the idea that Jesus died on the cross. This alone is sufficient to show that the Quran cannot be a continuation of the New Testament. What else do we see? Jesus' deity. The Quran denies the fact that Jesus was divine. The nature of God himself is triune. The means of salvation. The Bible teaches salvation by grace alone, through faith alone, in Christ alone. The Quran teaches salvation by works. We could add to this list a number of different things that would show us the New Testament, the Old Testament fundamentally contradict the message of the Quran. So the question is, how does the Muslim deal with this reality? There is no congruity between the New Testament, Old Testament, and the Quran. How does the Muslim deal with this? Now, the main way that this objection is combated is by asserting that the Bible has been so fundamentally corrupted that we can't possibly know what it said originally. Now, even taking that approach without examining the question in detail of the corruption of the Bible, we can still see that the argument fails. Let me show you how this argument fails. So the question I would ask the Muslim, my Muslim friend, is, when was the Bible corrupted? When was the Bible corrupted? Now, more specifically, what I mean is, was it before or after Muhammad? The reason why I'm asking this question is because whichever way the Muslim answers this question causes serious problems for their theology. Let me show you why. For example, let's say the Muslim says that the Bible was corrupted after Muhammad. They say, at the time of Muhammad, the Bible was good and pure and right, but then at some point after the life of Muhammad, the Bible became corrupted. Now, what's the problem with this argument? What's the problem with saying after? The problem is we possess copies of the Bible from before Muhammad ever lived. We possess copies of the Old and New Testament from before Muhammad ever lived. What this means is you can't possibly make the claim that the Bible was corrupted after Muhammad because we possess copies from before Muhammad ever lived. So let's say the Muslim changes their mind and they say, okay, well, perhaps the Bible was corrupted before the time of Muhammad. What's the problem with this objection? I'd encourage you to pause the video and think for yourself, why would this objection fail? What's the fundamental problem with making this objection? The Bible was corrupted before Muhammad, maybe in the early centuries, 1st, 2nd century, before any copies of the Bible exist that we possess today, the Bible was corrupted. What's the problem with this? Pause the video, see if you can think of an answer. Well, hopefully you've thought of something. Let me show you the fundamental problem with this. If the Bible was corrupted before the time of Muhammad, then that means at the time of Muhammad, the Bible that Christians and Jews had would not be trustworthy. If that's the case, then why does the Quran say that Christians and Jews should, in verse 47, why does the Quran say that Christians and Jews should judge by that which Allah had revealed therein, in the gospel, and before that in the Torah? Why does the Quran say that Christians should judge by this standard if Allah knows that this has been corrupted? Why does he tell Christians to use this if it's been corrupted. So if you say before, why then does Muhammad say to judge by the New Testament? And Old Testament. This is the problem for the Muslim. The Quran says for us to judge by this standard, but if this standard was already corrupted at the time of Muhammad, why would we be told to use this standard? So hopefully you see here, returning to the top, the argument being made by Muslims is that the Quran is continuing prior revelation. The problem is the prior revelation fundamentally contradicts the message of the Quran. Therefore, the Quran itself cannot stand as an authority, and the Quran itself cannot base itself on the prior revelation. Now, the way of escaping this is to try and say that the Bible has been corrupted. The problem with this is the Quran itself says for us to judge by the Bible. So the question is, when was the Bible corrupted? Before or after Muhammad? If you say before, the problem is the Quran tells us to judge by this standard. If you say after, the problem is we have copies from before the Quran. We know what the Quran said. Hopefully this helps you to see the issues with the Islamic view of the Bible. Now, this does raise the question for us, however. Was the Bible corrupted? That's a fair question. I think the Muslim can't be the ones to raise this objection to the Christian, because the Quran depends on the Bible being accurate at the time that it was written, and we know what it said before then. So I don't think the Muslim can actually make this argument. However, it's an argument we need to address because other religions, secular atheists and others, will make the same claim, and we need to be able to address it. So in our next lesson, that's where we're going to pick up. We're going to pick up the question, has the Bible been corrupted? I look forward to seeing you then, and hopefully this lesson has been helpful. God bless.